And of course, what is going on to all of my freaks and geeks out there? It is me, Quita, aka Malaysian Quita, and I want to welcome all of you to another episode, of course, of Sin TV Now, where I bring you smart, intelligent news and, of course, the importance of the multicultural perspective in gaming and pop culture. So for today's episode, honestly, I really just wanted to take it easy today, and I just wanted to do something that was going to be relaxing. And one thing that I'm not sure many of you freaks and geeks know, I am really into coloring, and I really love coloring books. I really love especially the adult coloring books that have been coming out in the last couple of years. I have been really impressed with them. And they have all different types, and we're going to get into that today. And of course, you know, our juicy topic of the day is, could Taylor Swift's "Look at What You Made Me Do" be culturally appropriating Beyonce? Because this is something that has really been interesting, especially in regards to what has been happening with race relations. But I thought that this would be something that would be interesting to talk about, but that'll be later on. So another thing that I want to focus on for today's episode too is, how do you get started in doing coloring? Because not all of us really, for me, I do not have the skill, and I have to be honest, I do not have the skill when it comes to drawing. I am not good at that. I am terrible at drawing, but I feel that I'm pretty decent when it comes to coloring and blending and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go over with this particular design, and this is coming from an amazing coloring book, because for those of you who don't know, I am really into tattoos, and I also am really into rock and metal especially. And I love tattoo coloring books, and there are so many out there. This particular design is coming from what is called the Tattoo Coloring Book Part 2, and there's 3 of them in all. I'm going to get all of them. I mainly get a lot of tattoo coloring books because that's just what I enjoy overall, but it's really awesome, and I just wanted to do this today, and I'm going to show you step by step. And I'm going to be doing this for the rest of this week, because this week for Sin TV Now is going to be Adult Coloring Book Week. We're going to go over what got me interested into adult coloring and just being a colorist overall. And also another thing that is often something that can be a challenge too is finding the proper materials that are affordable, because let's be honest here, art can get ridiculously expensive, and if you're the type that just likes doing it for relaxation like what I do, and like, you know, sharing it with others, then I think that you will really appreciate today's episode. So let's get started here. Let me show you the materials. Now the first thing, like I always say, KIS, keep it simple. You really do not have to spend ridiculous amounts of money when you're first starting. These coloring books, you can actually get them. You will not believe, you can get coloring books at the dollar store. And what I like to do, just because there's different grades of paper and whatnot, so I always look for coloring books that have a really thick canvas-like paper. Excuse me, you have to pardon me here. I've been having some indigestion. But I always tend to look for books that have very thick paper, or it's thick enough that I can put a couple sheets underneath it. If you are doing anything with oil paint, acrylic, even what we're going to be doing today is kind of what they call a mixed method. I'm going to be using baby oil and colored pencils and a fine liner marker to really bring this particular design out. The colors kind of pop a little bit more. But one thing I always say is you just want to get something simple to start off to see if you like it. And then eventually you may have multiple niches that you're interested in. For me, I just like coloring books that focus on multiculturalism and tattoos or anything that's like heavy metal and rock kind of related. So the first thing you can do is you can get these books at like the dollar store, or you can get them used as well. And if you're not really concerned about keeping the book intact, you just rip a sheet out, and then all you do is you can put it into a scanner and you can scan it and then print it again or copy it. And it's a great way of just preserving the book if you're that type of person, or if the pages are really, really thin. And that's what I tend to do. So let's get started here. And let me go over the materials that I'm going to be using and just kind of explaining what got me into doing this. So the first thing I found, and I got these from Amazon. These are from a brand called Art Iza. And these are the fine liner markers, and this is 0.4 thickness, so these are very, very thin, and this is going to be really good for places like this where it's just really small, really kind of hard to reach. And this is pretty much the color kind of scheme that I am going for. So let me show you these here. So there they are. So I'm just going to be doing a lot of deeper blacks and purples. I just felt that it would be nice to, you know, be able to do something like that. And then the next thing that I found that's better control, because there's all different types of colored pencils. You can get your standard plain Crayola colored pencils, which is what I recommend if you're a beginner. But if you're someone like me, as a woman, I have man hands. I'm not even lying. I really do. I mean, look at these hands, like manly. I have man hands, so I tend to apply a lot of pressure when I color. And I'm kind of trying to learn how to kind of ease off of like too much pressure. So then what I do is I get these twistable colored pencils, and these are from Crayola, and I am going to be using, like, I'll show you these bit by bit here. So I'm going to be using these, and these, a little bit darker where, you know, a little darker ones where I need it. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to do. And then another thing that is really important for blending, this is what is called a blending stump. They come in all different thicknesses. I got this one particularly from Amazon, and I'm mainly going to be focusing today on the bigger parts here. So we're going to focus on this section for today's episode, and then as we go along, we're going to get more into the detailer parts. But yeah, a blending tool is going to be very important because there's a couple different ways you can blend. You can blend with Vaseline, but I noticed that baby oil gave more of a similar kind of feeling and look like watercolor. But you still have to be careful when you're using blending materials, or as they call it, solvents, because it can seep through the paper that you're using. So I always put extra pieces of paper, and I also use a clip to make sure that I have the paper is completely flat and it allows me to work really easily with it. Now the other method you can use is a blending pencil, but if you really want a smooth and you don't want to have any kind of white spaces kind of poking through, unless you want that kind of texture, then I would say, you know, some people use Gamsol, but for me, I deal with too much like allergies and sensitivities, and if you're gonna use stuff like, you know, the odorless spirits or any Gamsol or stuff like that, you still are inhaling stuff, you know, and that's not good. So if you're going to be using that kind of stuff, you have to be in a well-ventilated space. But like I always say, what works for me may not work for you. So you always want to check with a medical professional before using Gamsol or any of those things, because you don't want to be like inhaling chemicals. That's not cool. All right, so let's of course get started here. And oh, I completely forgot, I have baby oil right here. If you can see that here, I know it's kind of hard to see. There it is. So I just have like a standard watercolor kind of paint tray. So this is what I do. I start with the colored pencil first. And a lot of times people ask me like how I come up with the colors. It just comes to me. I just look at the picture for a very long time, and then I kind of put my feeling into it, and then that's how I determine my colors. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that is pretty much what I do, and that's what kind of helps me to color overall. So I'm gonna go in, and you see these are like twistables, so it's like really cool. So I'll show you here. It's twistable, so you can control the amount of product that you want. So we'll take about that much, just because I know I'm gonna apply a lot of pressure here. And then we're gonna start here. And this is what I do. Before, I used to press down really, really hard, but I noticed that a little goes a long way here. And I just start really light first. And then if I feel that it's still not good enough, then I go back in and I get really, you know, I start to really apply the pressure. And this is the reason why it's like so important to get paper that is thick enough, because what can happen is if the paper is not thick enough, you can have issues where it starts to kind of break through the paper, and that is not cool at all. So that's one thing that I try to really focus on, is I still apply enough pressure for the color to push through, but I don't apply too much where it starts to get ridiculous. Now here is another kind of tip that I would recommend for blending. So let's say you're kind of getting towards the end. You want to leave some open, like some open kind of spaces like that. So that way you can start, it kind of gets you started blending right away, which is wonderful. Okay, so now I think what I'm going to do is for this outer part, I think I'm going to use these two kind of colors in the outer part. So I'll do like this purple and orange kind of combination. So this is like a lighter orange color in a way. So then this is what I start to do, is I start to go back in the previous, and then this time I get a little bit light. So do you see how it's already kind of blending in a way? So I'm just kind of really paying attention and focusing, and I'm kind of being a little bit light. But see, when you leave that open space, as you can see, it's already, do you see it's already blending already? It's so nice. And this is a way, if you use lighter colors, you can use the lighter color acts as like a blender kind of pencil anyway. So that's one way to blend, and it's really nice. And of course we have Chandler, and Chandler says, yes, I made it to a coloring video. So many of you like when I color, so that's really cool, and welcome to the show, of course. And yeah, so that's what I do to kind of, it just kind of helps me kind of get started. So if I wanted to blend like that, I can. Now I will show you here with the blending stump. Now here's the key to using the blending stump. You really, really want to have a light hand. And yeah, light colors do blend dark colors, Chandler. Yes, you can use lighter colors, because it, and this is another thing, like, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. Okay, so what got me interested in adult coloring was the fact that for many of you who are not familiar with my situation, I was dealing with like crazy allergies. and I have been really, really stressed because I had so much going on and it was just too much for me. So I started kind of doing research, and I found that a lot of people were doing adult coloring books as a way of relaxation. Now, it's funny that there is some criticism with adult coloring because some people think it's kind of like, oh, coloring is just for young people, but it's not. Coloring, and people, they consider themselves colorists in the adult coloring community. These people do professional stuff. Some people even create their own designs and excuse me, and color those in. And that's what kind of got me interested in this. Was I was like, wow, this is really cool. I should give this a try. So then you can get addicted to this stuff though. I just started buying book after book after book, anything I could get my hands on. But then I started kind of figuring out what my niche is, and I really like I like designs, and I like tattoos. So that's like what my thing is, and that's what I kind of focus on. And I started kind of learning the different techniques. Now, Chandler says that I should create my own designs. I am not good at drawing. Like, I wish I had that gift, but I am not good at drawing. Not at all. I have tried, and it's just not, I just don't have it. So I know I'm more of a colorist type of person than doing my own kind of designs. So to answer your question, but overall you can, well, continuing here, that's what kind of got me interested into it. And then I started watching shows like Miami Ink. and LA Ink. And I got into, really, I love Kat Von D. As crazy as that show is, Black Ink Crew, I got really inspired by shows like that. And I was like, you know what? Let me start coloring tattoos. And then it just took off for me. And then I started doing them. And at first I sucked. And I really started applying art theory. And then I just kind of went and did it my own way. So yeah, that orange to purple kind of gradient is really nice. It's just really smooth and even. But that's what kind of got me into it overall. And yes, you can use lighter colors as a way of blending, because blender pencils can get ridiculously expensive. I get my blending pencils honestly from the UK. So, like overseas, you can get a lot of art supplies for it. It's more affordable depending on what you can get. But there's some stuff from like the UK and places like that where it can get really expensive, like really ridiculously expensive. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna lightly, and I mean lightly, dip the blender. So this is what's called a blending stump. This is something, if you're in, art, you will be familiar with this. So you just lightly take, a little goes a long way. That's really what it is. And then if you really want to kind of pull the purple again into the orange, this is what you do. You just lightly, and do you see it starts to... Now, blending stumps don't do necessarily, to me, the best job as a as like brushes, or some people use Q-tips, but my only problem with Q-tips is the cotton staying on the paper. So I'm gonna try the Vaseline method too, because I haven't tried that yet. But the blending stump, what it does is it helps to blend out the colors even more, and it helps to fill in those white spaces within the paper, so then it kind of makes it look more full. So, and then I just like to take I try to get precision. And you don't have to be perfect with this, because the whole point of adult coloring, to me, from a like non-professional standpoint, is you want to have fun with it. You never want coloring to become something that is an irritant to you because you won't enjoy it. And I know that personally firsthand. When something that you have a passion for becomes an annoyance, it really sucks. Okay, so let's go back in with the purple again. And then we're gonna really be heavy with this. And just want to apply that pressure. It's really a nice, even pressure. So you see, the only problem I have with these twistables, as you can see, is when I'm coloring, they just tend to kind of go in. So, and the other thing I want to say too is this is coloring. You're supposed to have fun with it, because I think what can happen sometimes is that you can start to not enjoy it because you want to color within the lines. There are no rules to being a colorist. You can color the way that you want, and that's what I do. So I noticed that the orange is kind of faded a little bit, so I'm just going to go back in on top and make it a little bit more vibrant. But you don't have to color in the lines. If you make a mistake, you can always go in with an eraser and just erase it a little bit. So that's what I do. Like, there's no need to, be retentive when it comes to coloring. You should do it the way that you want to do it, and that's what I do. And that's what kind of helps me relax. You can turn some music on and just enjoy the experience of coloring. Like, you don't have to make it perfect, okay? So you don't have to. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go once again, and then we're gonna pick this, get this orange and just go on the other side. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna leave some of that open. So you just, you see how I'm leaving a little bit of a space in here and here, and then I put the purple in there, and that's how I make that gradient. It's just so easy to do. And then you can always go back in with the blending stump and just go and just really, you can drag that color. Do you see how it's moving? That's what the stump is used for. So do you see? That's why it takes me forever to do these, because I'm always kind of going in and, filling in and blending it out so that I get the, the way I want my gradient to look like. So do you see how on this side here, it's kind of a little bit rougher than that side? So that's why I like using the blending stump, because it just helps to kind of smooth everything out. And it helps to fill in any of those kind of awkward spaces, like white spaces that you may have on your paper. And then I love how the baby oil kind of helps to be smoothing things out. So, I mean, that's what I like doing overall. So, it's nice. So then we're going to go, once again, you want to be really light-handed when you're doing the blend first. And you just want to go. And see, this is why I'm going to probably stop using these twistables, just because it's, they just kind of twist into themselves even when I apply pressure. But I'm the type that when I get something, I like to use it up. So you can see I'm already forming the base of that gradient on the other side. I'm going to add a little bit more orange here. And then you want to put the orange on top of the purple very, very lightly. That's the key to doing it. It's kind of like you're dragging the orange in there, because you don't want it to look too solid unless that's the look that you're going for. I'm gonna put a little more purple in here. Drag that out. So that's how you do it. And then of course I'm gonna go in with a little, just a dab of baby oil, because I learned my lesson when I first started. I was putting too much baby oil, and then it made my it looked great, but it was kind of washed out, and then I got so much oil everywhere. It was just not a good time. Okay, so let's start to bring out, like, blend this, get it nice and smooth here. Let's pull this. And this time I'm going to pull a little bit of the orange, get rid of those solid lines. And sometimes too, if you're having trouble, like you see I have this line here, you can just do tiny little circles, and then that helps to remove the line. And do you see it makes the gradient automatically for you without having to go back and forth. And then sometimes I like to drag a little bit of purple in here, because it just helps to smooth it out even more. So it's starting to look good though. I'm really kind of liking this here. I'm going to go over with the orange a little bit more here, just because I'm noticing some white spots I don't like. And then, because some people, what they like to do is dip their colored pencil into the baby oil. But what I noticed is that it picked up too much baby oil. So you just need a subtle amount to blend. And it really works really well though. I was kind of surprised myself. But I will say, you know, from just kind of doing research, it seems that the Gamsol was the best, because it kind of thinned it out a little bit more. But I don't mind. Like, I really don't. Okay, so I think I'm going to add a little more purple in here, just because I wanted to just kind of drag that purple in. Go back with the blender, blending stump, drag that color. And that's it. That's pretty much how you do your gradient, like that. And I tend to kind of blend like in the middle part here, because it just, and every time I do blend, it comes out a little bit different. So that's the only thing that I really like about doing this, is that it gives me the chance to kind of try out different methods of blending and seeing what works versus what doesn't. Okay, so we're going to continue here. And I think this time I'm going to do orange on this side. And I'm going to really press down on the orange here. Go all the way. Just really focus it. And then I'm going to leave a little bit empty like that on that side. Now you could do purple on the same side, but I always like to make my stuff look asymmetrical. It just looks a lot better that way from my experience of doing this. Another important, I'm always dropping stuff. It's so annoying. I'm always dropping things, right? Okay, so another kind of tip too And I got this from Amazon. This is sandpaper. It's a sandpaper pad. And what's really cool about this is, I'll show you it here. You get these kind of sandpaper like sheets. And this is for the blending stump. Because what can happen is you may have some color payoff. So unless you don't want the color to drag into it, all you do is this. I'll show you. You just go back and forth. Slightly. And then it removes. So you can see this. It sharpens it, but it removes the color, which is really nice. So it is nice to work with and to have. So okay, so let's keep going here. And I am going to go with that purple again. And just doing a very light hand there. But I'm going to get a little bit heavier here. And gonna let me bring out this orange a little bit more. Get a little heavier here. And you have to have patience to do this too. If you are an impatient person, coloring is not going to be for you. I'm just saying. You gotta have a lot of patience if you're learning. Because I know, like, when I was first doing this, I did not have the patience. And I could tell, I could see it in my results of how my pictures came, you know, the pictures that I would color in and how they came out. You know, the more calm and relaxed you are, often that's the better your stuff is going to look like. The more impatient you are, you can see it when you are doing it. So, okay, so we got the blending stump again, and now let's get this going. I'm gonna be kind of with the purple, kind of blend that out a little more. So you can see, if you take the time, it looks nice, you know, it looks really good. So I'm going to go back in with that orange a little bit. Just kind of work that. So you can use the lighter colors to blend. This is similar to like using a white pencil when you're trying to blend darker colors together too. So it has that like same kind of effect too. And then we're just going to go a little bit with the purple on the end part here. So it's a lot of going back and forth. That's the main thing, freaks and geeks, I'll tell you. You're doing a lot of going back and forth here. And then you can also use the color pencil too, like this. I know it's kind of hard to see because of my really big man hands, but you can do this. Little circular motions. And then that helps to fade those lines. You see that? Isn't that great? I love that. Okay, so then we're going to go back in here with that orange. Let's do that little circle kind of movement here, because that'll help to blend that out. Blend this section. And then also too, you can drag the orange into the purple. So then that also has a similar effect like the blending stump has, which is kind of nice. Okay, and then Chandler asks, is that a butterfly? I don't even know what this is. Like, I'll be honest. I don't know. I mean, it looks like it, but I'm thinking it's kind of like a flower. That's what I think it is. But I am not too sure. To be honest with you, I am not too sure. Okay, so let's keep going here. And Okay, so we'll work on kind of leave some emptiness here. And we'll work on this here, blending these two together. Do a little circular. See, for my stuff, for it to come out the way that I want to, I always have to have a lot, like, you gotta have patience. If you have the patience, it comes out wonderful. And if you really take your time and you put your heart into it, I know that sounds really corny, but it's the honest truth. Like, you can tell when you color if you put your heart into it versus when you're just like, I just need to color and I just want to get this over with. So you can definitely tell. It makes a huge, for me, it has made a huge difference. So gonna go back in and gonna really focus this, drag this purple, let it fade a little bit. I'm gonna do that here as well. So it's coming out nice. I am really liking this. It's really kind of coming out the way that I felt that it would come out. So we're gonna go back in with that purple. Really focus that purple outward. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more orange just because it's not as vibrant as I thought I wanted for it to be. And we're gonna blend that orange here. So look at that. I mean, it looks like it's watercolored, right? I mean, it looks really cool. All right, so usually what I like to do before I move on to another section is I like to let things dry a little bit. Just because if it doesn't dry, let me tell you, it is not a good time. So you gotta let it kind of dry a little bit. Not too long, but let it dry just a little bit, okay? So let's get into our juicy topic of the day, because you know we're going to talk about that Taylor Swift, Beyonce, or as the Beehive maybe will call Beyonce situation. So this is coming from people.com. Look What You Made Me Do video director defends Taylor Swift against Beyonce Lemonade comparison. The Beehive may see similarities between a teaser clip of Taylor Swift's video for her biting new single, Look What You Made Me Do. I did have a chance to see the music video, and let me tell you, the music video is actually good. Am I a fan of Taylor Swift? Absolutely not. I mean, I like a couple of her songs, like You Belong With Me. Till this day, I will say Taylor Swift's best album was Fearless. That's just me personally. I did not like Red. I'm certainly not going to care for this new album called Reputation, but trust me, here on Sin TV Now, we will be reviewing that album as well as Lady Gaga's Joanne, because it needs to be done. Because I actually really liked Joanne. But I feel like with Taylor Swift, she is taking a new direction. I feel personally that she's kind of steering away from her countryside, and she's really going pop, like full-blown pop, like fully blown pop. And the song is not that great. That's just me personally. It's not that great. Music video is great. I can see the Beyonce comparisons a little bit just because we'll get into it. Let me continue going on here with the article here. Okay? So the Beehive may see similarities between a teaser clip of Taylor Swift's video for her biting new single, Look What You Made Me Do, and Beyonce's 2016 Lemonade visual album, but Swift's video director Joseph Kahn isn't having it. On Friday night, the Grammy Award or the Grammy winning director who shot Swift's Bad Blood, Out of the Woods, Wildest Dreams, and Blank Space videos, as well as Destiny's Child, Say My Name, and Jumpin' Jumpin', tweeted his reaction to fan speculation that Tay was making a dig at Bey. I've worked with Beyonce a few times, he wrote. She is an amazing person. The hashtag LWYMMD video is not in her art space. Love and respect to Bey. One shot in particular seemed to bother fans. It showed the 27-year-old country singer dressed in a black ensemble, lined up in an elegant pose with a row of male backup dancers behind her. The shot looks similar to the scenes from Beyonce's Formation video and the Super Bowl 50 performance, in which she donned a similar look with an army of fierce female backup singers. Okay, so the other comparison, I'm just paraphrasing the article here. Some of the other comparisons that were mentioned was another Lemonade track on the album called Sorry, and there's a part where Beyonce and Serena Williams are in this kind of like southern gothic Louisiana kind of plantation. And I will say that the video for Look What You Made Me Do, are there comparisons? Yes, but there are so many differences. Like there's a part where she's in a bathtub full of diamonds and she's biting on the diamonds. That wasn't in Beyonce's video. But another thing too, and I mean, you can see the pictures where there's like the comparison and whatnot. I mean, this is just me, I do see when she has that black kind of suit on, or outfit. Well, it wasn't a suit, but you know, she has that same outfit on. Yes, it is very similar to Beyonce's Super Bowl 15 performance. Now, this was a question that I was thinking about while I was watching the music video and reading this article, though, is one thing that's been kind of coming up is cultural appropriation. There has been a lot of issues with cultural appropriation in regards to music videos. It doesn't matter the genre, but that's something I wanted to talk about. Is Taylor Swift culturally appropriating Beyonce? Now, let's really be clear with the definition. I found this from everydayfeminism.com. So, in short, cultural appropriation is when someone adopts aspects of a culture that's not their own. Okay? Now, another kind of deeper understanding of cultural appropriation, this is what they say. A deeper understanding of cultural appropriation also refers to a particular power dynamic in which members of a dominant culture takes elements from a culture of people who have been systematically oppressed by the dominant group. And that's why this Beyonce and Taylor Swift situation is really interesting to me. Because to me, I don't think that Taylor Swift was culturally appropriating Beyonce. I think that, honestly, to me, it's because of the director that she's working with. Because the director, remember, has worked with Beyonce. So, and this is just my opinion, okay? Maybe Taylor got inspired by Beyonce, maybe Lemonade album, and she wanted to kind of do something that was similar, or maybe she wanted that type of image. Because I really feel like Taylor Swift is really trying to remove herself from that innocent country, you know, the innocent country girl kind of look, because now she's a grown woman and she wants to do grown woman things in a way. But this is a problem that Taylor Swift, to me, will always have with her music career, and that is, once you do the young country girl thing and people expect you to do the young music thing, it always becomes an expectation. This is the same problem that Kesha had with her newest album, was because she went from doing the dance pop thing to trying to be, you know, more mature and have a more mature, serious sound. And sometimes that's very hard to transition, okay? So let's go back and answer the question here. Taylor Swift, is she possibly culturally appropriating Beyonce? Now, I will say, though, that since Taylor Swift did it, though, as a white person, I feel no one's going to say anything because they probably would think that, you know, oh, well, you know, she's just doing it, you know. But I feel like if it was any other race besides a white person doing that, then I think more people would have an issue with it, because then they would kind of feel like, oh, well, they don't understand, you know, Beyonce's aesthetic. I don't think that Taylor Swift was culturally appropriating Beyonce. I just think maybe there was, who knows, it could be a form of flattery, or maybe she just got inspired. But this is something that people have to realize about music, is everybody's inspired by everybody else. And that's just a part of it. That's just what happens. Everybody gets inspired by everybody else, and you may see things that are similar to each other. And I mean, I will say, though, there are a lot of things that are very popular in Black culture that white people, or I see a lot of white artists do, that never really gets talked about in regards to saying like, oh, okay, well, this is something that is very common within African American culture, and I was inspired by it. So I think that it needs to be done, and to be fair, it needs to be done both ways, you know, because cultural appropriation is a double-edged sword. I mean, you see people, you know, for example, like Kylie Jenner and all these other you know, white girls out here, and they have a very, I mean, they look like a white girl but with a black style to them, and when they do it, it's cool. But then sometimes when the origin of the cultural group has that particular look, it's seen as ratchet and it's not cool. So Taylor Swift is making, and this is not saying, look, Beyonce is on her own level. We all know that. But it seems to me that because Taylor Swift did it, it's seen as cool. And if anybody else of any other cultural group did that, that's just me, I think a lot of people would cry out cultural appropriation. They seriously would. They would. I swear, if an Asian person did that, some people would get pissed off at that. But because Taylor Swift did it, and in a way, you know, it's okay for her to do it. But if anybody else did that look, I think people would even be more upset. And that's why cultural appropriation is a double-edged sword. It really is. Because there are certain cultural groups that can get away with it, and other cultural groups cannot. So, like, for example, if let's say it was another African-American woman who did that music video just the same way like Taylor Swift did, I think it would have been more of an issue. I think more people would have an issue with it. And then especially, let's say if that woman of color had on like a blonde wig or wore hair that was kind of outside of the cultural, like what is expected of the cultural group, then I think more people would have a problem. So to conclude, I don't think that Taylor Swift was culturally appropriating Beyonce. I just think she was flattered by maybe her style, and she was like, you know, maybe I want to incorporate that into my music video. So I think it's really important. I don't see anything wrong with, and I think it's great that a white person is like taking Beyonce's style and like making that cool, because then it helps to like normalize our fashion as well. Because whether people want to be straightforward with it or not, African American fashion is something that is not always accepted, especially African fashion. Remember how Solange got criticized for wearing traditional African clothing. This is like a serious problem that happens. But then to be honest, if white people wear African fashion, depending it kind of gets a pass. It is because it's seen as something that's cool. If it's cool and white people are doing it, it does get a pass sometimes. And then when we wear it, that's where the stereotyping and some of that happens. I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but it's just something that I'm noticing recently. I don't have a problem. Actually, I really think that's cool when I see white people incorporating like African fashions or different types of fashion into who they are. But I think it's important that if you are taking something from a different culture, to recognize it and respect it. I think it's very important. Like, so for example, if I wore something that is something that's traditional from Korea or from Japan or something like that, or if it's something traditional from China or something like that, I think it's important for me to know the history of where that particular garment comes from, because it's giving respect to those people. You know, but if I'm doing something like, for example, like when Katy Perry, you know, was wearing like the Egyptian outfits, and, you know, she had like, I remember she had some, I think she did a piece at some award show, and she had an outfit that was common in, I think in Japan. You know, that's where I feel cultural appropriation has issues, is because it's just important to acknowledge the people that the stuff that you're wearing. I think that's important because it gives respect to those people. Same thing can be applied to hairstyles too. You know, it's so important. So I don't think that Taylor Swift was culturally appropriating. I just think she was inspired. But the thing I notice is that when white people take on black fashion or African fashion, they don't get criticized for it. So that's why I think this was interesting, that there was some kind of, you know, there was some critical thinking going on. And I thought that's like the first time I've actually seen that. Because usually if white people take on a fashion from a different cultural group, there's not always an issue, and it's seen as okay. And that's just from, I would say, from my view of American society. So definitely, hey, you freaks and geeks, let me know, you know, how you feel about the whole Taylor Swift Beyonce situation. I think that it's a step in the right direction. And I think she's doing a good job in regards to this music video. It was pretty good. I was very impressed with the graphics and everything like that. But that's what happens. Sometimes when you work with directors that work with other artists, you may get inspired, or there may be some similarities in style. It doesn't mean that you're like trying to, because there is no way Taylor Swift will be Beyonce. Let's just be honest, okay? She's very successful. She's very wonderful in that sense. And, you know, her fans are some of the most dedicated fans that I have ever seen in my life. But Beyonce is on a different level in regards to the way that she does her music videos and stuff. So you really can't compare Beyonce to Taylor Swift. That's why I find this kind of interesting, just because, like, Taylor Swift is not Beyonce in any shape or form. Yes, she's got the success. I mean, this young lady has over, what, like 23 million subscribers on YouTube. So, yes, but she cannot be Beyonce. She is an artist. She's a completely different artist. She does completely different music, and you really can't compare them. I understand the comparisons, but they are not the same artist. That's like comparing Katy Perry to Aaliyah. That's like a slap in the face. I mean, Aaliyah was on her own, so I forgot to talk about her. Definitely rest in peace to Aaliyah. Just a couple days ago was the anniversary of her passing, and honestly, I personally believe that if she was still alive, she would be killing the music industry right now. And when I mean killing it, she would be dominating it. You know, not only did she cross over into pop, but she was amazing as an R&B performer, and I miss her dearly. I really do. and I anytime I talk about her, I just get teared up, just because she was so brilliant and such, like, she just seemed to be such a nice, like, sweet person. And I think that's important, you know, in regards to, you know, if you're a pop star and stuff like that, you always have to remember that your audience really looks up to you and respects you. And that's something that you should take seriously. And I noticed that in Taylor Swift, that she really is devoted to her fans. And that's why she puts 110 into what she does. And even though I'm not a fan of her music, I got to give props to that and respect her in regards to that. So, yeah, so this section has dried here. Let's keep going here. Let's keep coloring. And I just thought it was a really interesting story. I really found it kind of fascinating that people were comparing Taylor Swift to Beyonce. I'm like, how can you compare Taylor Swift to Beyonce? I mean, they're totally different artists. Yeah, they kind of got the pop music thing going. And then, you know, it was really funny too, at the end of that music video, it was pretty much like a slap in the face to her haters, because she had all the different sides of herself kind of talking to each other, and it was such a satirical thing. It was really interesting. So she was kind of talking to the people that were just hating, you know, or the people who are very critical of her. So that takes a lot of, like, it takes a lot of guts to do that. So I give respect to Taylor Swift on that. I thought that was really interesting of her to do that. But okay, so let's keep going here. And of course, as I like do it the wrong way here, so we're just gonna finish this section here. Just filling out that wonderful yellow. It's like a marigold kind of color, like deep orange, marigold, whatever. No, I'm being ridiculous, like I always am. All right, so we got that right there. I like the effect that it has. It's really nice. Okay, so I'm going to go back in with the blender. And I want you to see how much I'm taking. I am not even taking that much. I know it looks like a lot, but it's not even that much, people. Because it's just, yeah, this is totally worth it. Totally. And then also, I got to give a shout out to my man, okay? And when I mean my man, he is the man to me, Das Rev. I will have a link below so you can check him out. I want to tell him thank you so much for definitely following me. Das Rev is such an amazing like streamer. He is hilarious. And he always makes my day. He really does. His show is so awesome. It's very enjoyable. So I definitely recommend him. He's really good at what he does here. So, this is coming out better than what I thought. I really thought this was going to come out really crappy. I was waiting for you, you know, freaks and geeks to be like, haha, you suck. This looks horrible. This looks terrible. Oh, man. And as tired as I am, I'm doing this today because I told myself, I'm like, you know, I owe it to you guys because I know I've been very inconsistent. You know, I can't help it. It's just been really kind of hard. And kind of getting back to some normal sleep patterns. I've been drinking a lot of tea, actually. I've been drinking what they have like this sleep tea. And that's like really been helping me tremendously. It's been absolutely wonderful. Okay, so we got that done. So we'll let that dry too, but let me go in with some detail. So I'm going to try this marker, this fine liner, and this is like 0.4. Do you see how thin that is? That is thin as my brain cells. Okay, so we're going to start here, and then, so the key to doing markers though, is you never want to hold it on the paper. And what I mean by that is the more you hold it on the paper, that is the more that it will start to pretty much dissolve the paper down. So when you're using markers, I always kind of lift. I lift and apply. That's what I like to say. I like to lift and apply, lift and apply, lift and apply. So do you see the difference? Because the more I hold it down, that's the darker it's going to get. And I just want to kind of get a little bit of color there. So I just lift and apply, lift and apply. So that's all that I'm doing. And you don't want to hold it too long because then it starts to get really kind of dark. And I only go over it a couple of times just because the paper can start to kind of peel. But if you have coloring books that have good paper, then you won't have that problem per se. But I still try to focus on lifting and applying. And I just kind of focus it around like that. Yeah, isn't that red pink color really wonderful? It's really nice. I'm really liking it myself. I'm really going to take my time with this one just because I really want it to come out really cool. So then you just kind of go... And you can see, I mean, I've been doing this for what, like 55 minutes though? It does take time to do this. So if you really want it to come out the way that you want it to, you gotta have patience. And these are really good detailer detailer marker. So I just take my time. But for my other show, because I know many of you may not know, but I have another show too. It's called the Curvy Metalhead Show. So if you are into like heavy metal, rock, that kind of stuff, then definitely check out the other show. And what I decided to do, because I talk on both of my shows just because you like guys can get an idea of like kind of what happens behind the scene type of stuff. So I've really been inspired by, and I've always been inspired by 80s hair metal, or they call it like 80s glam metal. And I love Rat. So for the Curvy Metalhead Show, the beginning of that week, or this week, because it's Monday, but now it's Tuesday, I am doing 80s hair metal week, and I will do an awesome hair metal makeup look as well. I'm going to be reviewing, probably later on today, hopefully. I will be reviewing Rat's Out of the Cellar, which is pretty much one of the most essential albums of the glam and hair metal genre. And it's pretty, I mean, I've listened to it, like what I do with my reviews for the show there is I try to, well, I don't try, but I listen to the album 3 times. I don't try to listen to it anymore unless it's something really complex. Like, I don't know, D'Angelo's newest album. That album was so complicated, man. It was really complicated. I was so surprised how complicated that album was. I believe it was called Black Messiah. That album, I think it took me, probably I had to listen to it about 3 or 4 times too, because there's just so many themes in that album. It's like crazy, man. So I'm just kind of going over it just a little bit more, just up top, just kind of making it a little bit darker up top here. So that's why this stuff takes time. But yeah, I've been listening to Out of the Cellar by Rat. That's honestly the album that really kind of put them on the map. And it's pretty good, though. They have that song, the song that they're known for on there is Round and Round. And it's your typical, like, you know, hair metal song. And it's very catchy. And I mean, I catch myself singing it too all the time. I mean, literally, Rat Out of the Cellar is like a soundtrack for Street Fighter and some type of like martial arts film from the 80s. Like, it's really, really out there in regards to the riffs and all that. So then I think what I'm going to do is leave this part open like that. And then I'm going to add the next color in, which is a lighter purple. So I'm using that. So that's what this one is. And then we're just going to take it from here. I'm glad I went with this purple versus the other purple, because I think it would have been a little too dark on the inner part here. I'm noticing right away that these markers are very saturated, so I'm probably not going to get these again. Just because, do you see like the saturation? It's like really, really dark, and that's like not cool for what I'm trying to do. So I mean, these are nice for like just little details, but I prefer using Sharpies, to be honest with you. And you can always do this too, but you gotta be careful because it just kind of messes with the paper. So I try to, you know, do little circles lightly here. So try to. So that's what I'm doing there. It's a little dark spot on that, just a little half kind of half piece. And then I think what I'll do, just to make sure that I just kind of darken that part there. I'm going to try something I've never done before here. Get a little bit of the blending stump and see what happens here. See, it's all like trial and error. You just got to try it. Interesting. It does work with marker. Yeah, it does work with marker though. That's cool. So I'll just take the blending stump and like work this. It just makes the color more vibrant with marker though. But I'm also noticing though that the using the stump is helping to kind of. Okay, it's starting to lift the paper. I noticed that right away. Because you see this here? This is like the paper. I know it's kind of hard to see. But yeah, so you have to be careful with markers just because it starts to like lift the paper. And then that's not cool. So there we go right there with that. And then I think I'm going to go. So these markers are not really good for the type of paper that I'm using. So I'm just going to continue lifting and it just catches on the paper too hard. That's, I think, the problem with these. Okay. So there's that one done. So you have to be careful with the baby oil. It may seep through the page and you don't want a hole in your paper because that would suck. It would suck, like seriously. Okay, so I think now I'm just putting aside the colors that I'm using. Okay, so I got that. Okay, so let's try. Because I got my bright colors in there. Let's see. You know what? Let's try this pink. See what happens here. Put the bit of lighter kind of pink here. Like a little accent. So then we'll just take this. Well, it's like a darker kind of pink. But I think it's coming up. Yeah, it's like a lighter pink. And just color this whole thing. Just focus on that. That's, I mean, it looks good though. I mean, I can't lie. It does look really good. And I want to thank all you freaks and geeks and everybody watching today's episode. I really appreciate that. See here. Just keep going. And then sometimes too I go in circles like this to kind of fill in anywhere else. I try to get as much white space filled in as I can. So do a little bit here. Well, that came out much better than what I thought. I didn't think it was going to come out like really nice like this, but it actually looks pretty cool. I like the combination of the marker with the colored pencil. It looks really nice though. I'm really feeling this right now. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so I know I'm going to be using this one. And then I think... Let me see here. Yeah, this is like a deeper red. Well, let's try it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, this is just like a kind of plain red. It looks alright. And then I think I'm gonna go in with yellow. It's right in the middle. And then I tend to get black here too, just to kind of fill in some spots that I'm like, there's no point in coloring, so I'll go in. Just do that because it just kind of helps to fill it in and get yourself going there. Use the blending stump again. And we're gonna go right on the yellow here. Get that. Get this part started here. And then, like I said, the baby oil, as you can see, it helps to smooth it out. And you can do circular motions too, like this, because it just helps to smooth it out a little bit more. So let me go over the pink again, because I want it to be and I am going to be working on this too when I'm not on, just because it is something where it will take some time, just because, I mean, as you can see, it's a very intricate type of pattern. And I thought I was going to get all of this done today. No, that doesn't look like it's happening. So I think I'm just going to do like piece by piece. So I'll just do like probably petal by petal here. And I'll probably do one that's like a speed up too, so you can see how it all comes together. But I'm probably going to pick something a little bit smaller to do, because I know that's going to totally take some time. So then you just trying to blend away any kind of white. You also have to be careful with this too, because if you put, like, once again, I was saying earlier, if you put too much baby oil, it can also cause the paper to pick up. So there you go. So that's how you do that. Right there. It looks really nice. Okay, so let's work on the other part here. So these are the colors that I'm pretty much going to be using. What I like to do sometimes, I get a whole bunch and then I pick through and I'm like, okay, well, these are the ones that I want to use. So this is, whoa, as I drop one, these are the ones that I am going to be using for this particular thing. Let me get the other one, because it fell. Oh, there it is. I thought I lost it. I would have been so pissed. Alright. Okay, so let me show them all together. So this is pretty much, they call it the color scheme or whatever. So these are ones I'm going to be using for this. And we'll see how this all comes together. I'm going to start working on the second one here. So let's see if I can make it look the same. But sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Okay, so going to go in right here. Just color and lift. And this is where I've kind of been learning how to have a light hand, just because I noticed that because these markers pretty much pick up paper and they're very concentrated. It's like a lot comes out all at once. So I do not recommend these if you're just starting, because you have to kind of understand how to apply pressure And this comes out all at once. Like, I was really surprised. Okay, I'm going to have to stand up a little bit here just because I want to make sure that I'm getting in the lines right here. So I am standing. And then I'm going to put, to make sure, I'm going to put a line here to make sure I get the right amount of purple here. But yeah, these markers do kind of bleed a little too easily, unfortunately. And I put that line there just so that I know where to stop. So at least I can make the purple part look similar. And I've also been listening to a lot of Rage Against the Machine too. I like them. They're a really good band. Very, very good. People love the family with a pocket full of shells. That's my horrible. Oh gosh. Okay. So then I'll go up here again. Really focus this, get up there. Yeah, symmetry is hard when you're first learning how to color though. But even though I've been doing this for a little bit, not too long, I'm still having, you know, it's a work in progress. It is a learning process. So yeah, do you see there is some difference because these are so pigmented. So there is a little bit of difference while, you know, when I'm coloring here. Because the more I go over it, that's the darker it's getting, of course. Get this section here. I think I may have to go over this to kind of match it. Yeah, so but yeah, this it's kind of rough on the paper here. So as you can see, I mean, it does get really dark, but it leaks a lot. That's my only problem with these markers in particular. I do not like that. Because it just, this is why I prefer working with color pencils over over marker, is you can tell the difference. You have much better control. Much better control. Like, seriously, it looks so much better the colored pencil part. Much, much better control. All right, so let's go over the deep purple again. So we'll go over that section like we did before. And okay, I see what some people are saying on Amazon about these. They can be like the paper, it kind of makes your paper look kind of weird here. Now I get it. Okay. So we got that. Do you see it looks so much darker though? See, that's the thing I don't like. It's like coming out all at once, so I'm just gonna have to match it up here. Yeah, this is causing my paper to bleed a little bit, so to pick up, and I do not like that. So I will not be using these again probably. I mean, I'll still use them up, but I'm not gonna use them on stuff like this, because I mean it looks good, but it's kind of weird. All right, so go in with this red. Okay, so let me go in with the blending stump here. Oh, I think I took a little too much. I'm just using this a little bit over the marker to kind of help smooth it out. No, it's kind of hard to see here. Let me move this over so you can see. And we're going to go in with the yellow. So I say it looks pretty good though. I know when it comes all together it'll look pretty decent, but I think it's coming together really nice. Alright, so let's go with that the pink again. I'm like trying to keep them all together so that they're not like crazy here. So we put pink in here, and I'll put some, let's put pink in here. Alright, so let's do yeah, it's starting to come together now, which is kind of nice. Carefully color that. Yeah, I do not like these markers from let's see here. Yeah, I do not like these markers from Arteza. They're not as nice as I thought they were going to be for me here. Okay, so we filled in that. I want to go in with purple on this side. It's all purple here. And then we'll do the opposite side in the orange here. So yeah, it's coming together though. It looks really good. I was not expecting it to look good. Thought it was gonna look terrible. Okay, so we're just gonna go in. And do the opposite side. But the blender pencil does a good job of moving the color around. It really, really does. And then you can always go over it. And it's still very vibrant. And it fills in any other white space that you were not able to fill in. Wow, look at that. Jeez, it's coming together really well. So let's get on this part here. And here, like this part here, this is where I start to put, like, kind of put a little more pressure to get that color to show. Because sometimes pinks, you gotta really push a little hard. I was thinking of getting some Prismacolor ones, but like, man, Prismacolor is very expensive, man. It's like, what the heck, Prismacolor? Alright. And you always want to roll down your twistable color pencils just because they can move. And you may break them, so that's not always cool. And I'm always watching tons of adult coloring, like, tutorials. There's so many here on YouTube. So many wonderful colorists. Like, I am basic compared to some of these people that do this amazing stuff. One thing I've always wanted to try is what's called grayscale coloring. So you take a picture in black and white, and then you add color to it. And it looks, some of those looks are, like, some of the pictures that they've done colors on, it's amazing. So, I'm still learning, so. But can you believe it, though? Halloween is almost here. Can't believe it. Like, I love Halloween. It's like the one time I can get my vampire movies and all that good stuff. And there are a lot of good vampire shows, though, that are out now. And Vampire Diaries is certainly not one of them. Vampire Diaries looks so stupid, though. But I still may watch it, though, just because I want to see what the big deal is. It's a vampire drama or whatever. It looks really stupid, though, I have to say. Well, look at that. I mean, that looks absolutely amazing, if I do say so myself. Yeah, it's really coming together, though. I really like this. It looks really good. Not because I'm doing it. So let's fill in, because I noticed it looked a little bit light on this side. So we're going to just go on top. You want to try to fill as much of the white space as you can. The only way you're gonna get it really, really perfect, if you have like Gamsol or something like that to really blend it out. But baby oil works pretty well. I mean, as you can see, you can get all different types of lighting variants with it depending on how much you put. But I notice when I use baby oil, it does come out a little bit darker, which is really nice. So let me see. I think I might... Yeah, I think I'm going to use a really bright yellow. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to use bright yellow on this part here. And in here. And once again, it's okay to color outside of the line. Sometimes it makes it look more like realistic, you know? Let's go back in. Wow, look at that. We finished 2 petals today. I mean, it looks really good, man. I mean, what do you guys think? I think it looks good. I like it. Looks really nice. So here are some, I would say, some other tips as you go along. You're coloring, you know, you're having fun, all that good stuff. A couple things. First off, you don't really need expensive materials. A lot of the materials that I found on Amazon were really cheap, but you can just go to any kind of like dollar store or whatnot. Start with colored pencils and maybe get like a blending tool like this and just keep practicing until you start to blend things more seamlessly. Then it becomes a lot easier for you. Another thing is, in regards to coloring books, you gotta color things that you enjoy. The worst thing you can do to yourself, I know this when I first started, I was coloring things that I absolutely hated, and I really didn't enjoy it the way that I did. So some of you may like paisleys. Some of you, like, one thing I like coloring and doing scratch art on is mandalas. Mandalas are really fun to color, and they're great for beginners too. But as you go along, you'll start to kind of find what your niche is, and sometimes you may not have a niche though. Like for me, my niche is tattoos and anything multicultural and patterns and stuff. So that's like what majority of my so sorry for yawning. It's been a long day. But that's what majority of my collection is, are books. I also like flowers. I love coloring flowers for some weird reason. I love flowers. So that's what I tend to do. But you may find that you may like coloring, you know, different types of characters, or some people like coloring anime, things like that. But anime coloring, it does require a lot of skill though. You have to be good. This is just my personal opinion. You really have to be good at skin tones, and I am not good at skin tones, so that's why I just... Another method too, because I always try to pay attention to people with disabilities too, and having a disability does not mean the end of the world in regards to creativity. I always had a friend of mine say that a disability it's not a disability. Think of it as something that is positivity. So having a disability is not a disability, it's positivity. And I always think about people with disabilities, and that's how I like doing my show as well, because I think that people that have disabilities, they don't always get like talked about, and I would say talked about in regards to different ways of coloring and things like that. So depending on your disability and things like that, what you can do actually, in regards to coloring, is they have a lot of online coloring apps that you can get, whether it's for your tablet or whatnot, and you can color by pressing the picture with your finger, and you can do gradients and stuff. And I will be doing some of those. I'll be doing a lot of reviews on coloring apps, because there are a lot that are out there, especially for Android, that are really, really nice. Like, they're really wonderful. And yeah, I totally will do some of those. Also coming up too on the show, there's a lot of these games. They're called Otome games, and they're pretty much like these dating games for women. It's pretty cool. And I'll be playing some of those as well. And they have a lot. I really love stuff like that, like dating stories and stuff like that, those type of games, because they are fun to play. And a lot of those men on those games are really hot. And I know that I would never have a chance with a man like that, but I can dream. No, I'm being messy. I know what I have going on. No. So, yeah, but it's looking good so far. I can't wait to show you the rest. Of course, when I do complete it, I will put it up on my Twitter. My Twitter is, of course, at SinTVNow. YouTube for this and all my other episodes is SinTVNow. So youtube.com, SinTVNow. And then, of course, here on Twitch, twitch.tv/SinTVNow, of course. So one thing I always like doing is what is called Food for Thought, where I leave you with something to think about. So today we were talking all about the whole Taylor Swift and Beyonce situation. Now, here's my thing. You know what I think would be really cool is to see a collaboration between Taylor Swift and Beyonce. I think that would be the ultimate collaboration. But my thing is this. Like, cultural appropriation is a very interesting topic in regards to music, just because creativity is a form of flattery. And anytime someone wants to look like you or be like you or be inspired by you, that's a form of flattery. I don't feel like Beyonce is gonna feel insulted because Taylor Swift had a similar type of outfit. The outfits were not exact. There was a similarity there, but it's not like she was wearing the same exact kind of like outfit. I think in a way, maybe she was influenced by Beyonce, and maybe she was influenced by the director and working with him to get a different style than what's kind of normalized or what's normal for Taylor Swift. Now, I'm not a fan of her music. I like some of her songs, but I can respect Taylor Swift as, as a person, because she really does a lot for her fans. And she really does care about her fans. And I think that's important in regards to the longevity of an artist, as a musician, period. Your fans are definitely the people who look up to you and make you be the success that you are. So you really want to appreciate them. And I think Taylor does that. And maybe that's the reason why she got inspired to do that type of look for her music video, was maybe she was trying to reach to the Beyonce fans. You never know. Or the fans that she feels that really likes her and appreciates her. Another thing, too, I wanted to mention, which I thought was really interesting, too, is she had LGBT people in her music video. And I thought that was really interesting, because I've never thought of Taylor Swift as like an LGBT type of artist, though. And when I never really thought about that. So she really is trying to kind of reach out to so many different audiences, which I think is a good thing. But I never thought of her having gay people in her music video. But I'm noticing that that's kind of becoming a common thing now, is is having like gay people in your music video, because it kind of like makes you look cool. But I think it's also important to respect the culture, the LGBT culture. There are a lot of things that we see in fashion and in in makeup that are inspired by LGBT people. And I thought that was cool that she did have, you know, gay guys in her music video. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Taylor Swift fans take it. Because to me, I feel like the fans are kind of divided depending on, this is just from my experience, depending on the type of fan. Because there are Taylor Swift fans that like her Teardrops on My Guitar, like her debut album and Fearless. To me, I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift like that, but those to me are like my favorite albums of hers to listen to. And then you have the fans that are more they're fans of her dance stuff. So like Red and that, you know, and this new album. So Reputation to me is kind of interesting, because I'm just kind of looking at this first single though. I'm really curious to see how the album's gonna sound like, because it's not all pop and it's not country in any, like, she completely stepped away from that. And I kind of wonder why she stepped away from the country though, because that's really when I enjoyed Taylor Swift, is when she was really doing her country thing. It's just like with Kesha too. I loved Kesha when she was doing her dance music. This new music that she's doing is kind of boring to me, and I'm just not feeling it the same way like I felt some of her other songs. Like, I really like Blow. Blow is a pretty decent song from Kesha. I mean, I don't like everything that she does, but I can at least appreciate that. Just like how I can appreciate Taylor Swift's Fearless and the way that she treats her fans. She does have a good heart on that part. And I won't lie, I am a little bit jealous of her, because she is really beautiful. I mean, she really is beautiful. And you can tell she keeps herself in really good shape too. But yeah, you can keep yourself looking like that when you have the money, right? So let me know what you think about the whole Taylor Swift and Beyonce situation. Do you think maybe that Taylor is kind of paying homage to Beyonce? Or do you think that there's a little bit of cultural appropriation going on? Yeah, definitely let me know what you think. I love how this is coming together. The colors are really vibrant, and I'm going to keep working on it, and you're going to see the progression and everything. I am doing Sin TV now, just like my other show. I am doing it every other day. So that's kind of going to be my schedule. If I am not going to be doing the show, definitely you want to check out Sin TV Now on Twitter, because that's how you know when I am going to be on. So with that, I'm going to be heading off. And like I always say, remember to get smart and stay informed.